Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Hands on SAP Dev, episode 53 with me, DJ, Q Macro. Cold and frosty morning this morning here in Manchester. Yeah, I can see Robert's on the stream. Robert Dino, welcome, howdy, and Freddie. Good morning, Freddie, on the way to school, I presume. Yeah, it's Valentine's Day, which is quite romantic, I guess. I've got my romantic cup of coffee with me. And yeah, let's get going. Good morning, good evening, Andrew. I guess it's good evening for you, is it? Yes, I think so. Good evening. Great to have you on the live stream. So welcome, like I say. So this is episode 53, and yeah, I'm going to jump almost straight to the précis of what we want to do, because I did think last week I did ramble on a little bit too much, so I'm going to try and cut that sort of pre-ramble down. I know folks have said that they quite enjoy that sort of thing, so I'm going to try and sort of not get rid of it completely, but cut it down a bit. So I'll just move across to the main scene, where I can switch to a description of what we want to do. We've been doing all sorts of different things recently, most recently looking at the business rules service on Cloud Foundry, on SAP Cloud Platform, which has been great. And I think we ended up last week calling the business rules runtime API to actually invoke the rule service that we created and deployed, which was great. And the way we did that was through the sort of the client password resource OAuth flow, which is one of a number of OAuth flows. If there's enough interest, we could go back to that theme and look at a different OAuth flow. There's all sorts of things I want to share with you over the next few weeks, particularly in the area of Cloud Foundry again and workflow. Now, many of you already know that we've done some workflow stuff on HandsOnSAPDev before, but of course that was in the days when workflow was available on Neo. Now it's available on Cloud Foundry, and in the same way that the business rules migration to Cloud Foundry meant that we had to sort of learn a few new things, there are some aspects of running workflow on Cloud Foundry that are super interesting and definitely worth learning. So I'd like to explore that as a key theme over the next few episodes. But I sort of want to have a parallel theme as well, and that's what the subject of today is. Oh, lots of chat. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Oh, you're really looking forward to this episode. Thank you, Robert. That's really kind. So am I actually. I'm looking for. It's a quite a mixed bag of things, right? I'll get to that shortly. Mahesh, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. And Ronnie, good morning. Hope it's not too cold over there in Oslo. And Douglas, great to see you. Good morning, and good morning, Peter. Brilliant. Okay, you've caught up on every episode. That's amazing. I think you deserve a prize for that, Peter. And good morning. Oh, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that again. Good morning. Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Andrew, for the feedback. That's great. Okay, so we'll have a main theme of sort of workflow on Cloud Foundry. There's all sorts of things I've been digging into recently. Plus, we'll throw in a bit of Docker container goodness in there as well. Yeah, exactly. So many topics, so little time. And on the theme of so many topics, so little time, that's the sort of theme of today. And we're not going to get through all this today, but I want to start something off that will allow us to always have something to hack on. And I'll talk about that shortly. It just reminded me, it's Valentine's Day today, and I've just given my darling Michelle her Valentine's Day present, which is this amicable numbers keyring pair. She's already taken one half of it. There's the other half, 284. So 220 and 284 are amicable numbers. For those of you who don't know, an amicable number, an amicable number pair is a pair of numbers where you add up the divisors of one of the numbers, and they sum up to what the other number is, and you add up the numbers of that, the divisors of that number, and the sum is the first number. So they're sort of intertwined in a very nice way. That was a really bad description, but I'm sure you can find out there. So there, go to MathsGear, really cool. Go to MathsGear. I'm not affiliated, I'm not sponsored or anything by MathsGear, but I think it's pretty cool. Yes, I think Ronnie, Peter deserves definitely some stickers for that. So Peter, send me a DM, contact me privately, whatever. Send me your address, and I'll send some stickers as a congratulatory prize for getting through all the episodes. That's amazing. I was just reading through the descriptions of all the episodes this morning for reasons that will become clear shortly, and that was an effort in itself. Anyway, let me just go back to this thing here. So we did chat about having a programmatic way of finding different hands-on SAP Dev episodes, and I want to explore that with you. And I also want to explore it by sort of doing the simplest thing that could possibly work, feeling as we go, trying to involve lots of different technologies and tools to learn about them, to give us an opportunity to learn more about these different things. So it says here, OData service, yeah, cool. CAP powered, obviously, and also an NPM module on the GitHub package registry. So I think in terms of what that API, the searchable API, say, find me the Hands-on Dev SAP Dev episodes where we talk about workflow, for example, or where we talk about Advent of Code, or Advent of Code in conjunction with NodeMon, for example. So that's what I want to enable, and I want to do it first of all in the simplest way. Ward Cunningham was famous in many ways. The father of the wiki. I met Ward, awesome guy. And one of the things he says is, what's the simplest thing that could possibly work? In fact, on my Tech Aloud podcast, I've read out one of the articles that is an interview with Ward Cunningham. Definitely check that out. I need to sort of update my Tech Aloud podcast and do some more reading. But anyway, so I'd like to start out today with thinking about what that sort of API might look like, and in what forms it might take. And I think we should think about two different forms that are sort of related. The first form, I think, should be an OData service, let's not jump ahead, but the first form should be, an HTTP based service that you can query. And, I'm going to say this sort of deliberately fighting talk, there's no better way really than using an OData service. Of course, there's GraphQL as well. We might sort of branch out and do some GraphQL stuff as well on top of that later on. But I think it'd be really cool to build a simple OData service first of all, because I think there's a danger, and I count myself included, there's a danger that people sort of are going to lose sight of the power of OData, especially the newer features in OData v4, when it comes to having a reliable and predictable API for managing and also querying in a rich way data. So I think we should start out with an OData service, but we'll use the JSON representation of the entity set that we can query as the basis for an NPM module as well, because I'm thinking it'd be really nice to be able to sort of run this thing offline as well. It'd be really nice to be able to sort of import an NPM package, an NPM module into your project, and have that hands-on SAP Dev metadata, let's call it, available to you that you could then map over or filter or whatever in JavaScript, for example. And of course, we can sort of use the representation output of the OData service to feed in to that NPM module. So that's what I want to do. And again, we're not going to get anywhere near getting through that today, but that's the sort of theme that I want to set. What have I got here? UI5. Oh yes, a quick shout out to UI5Con in Belgium that's happening today. So happy Valentine's Day and awesome learnings to you all at UI5Con. Big shout out there. Brilliantly organized. And in fact, let me go back to the UI5Con. I keep forgetting that I have access really easily to the chat, so I can type these URLs into the chat. Nicholas has tweeted last night about the streams. So if you want to watch some UI5 goodness from UI5Con, okay, have a great day, Freddie. Work hard, and I'll see you on the weekend. Bye. So there's the tweet from Nicholas with some links to the YouTube live streams for UI5Con, which is awesome. Yeah, okay, fine. So there is here, I'm going to stop that. Whoa, hello to you too. Stop, whoa. There's a really awesome 10-minute video from a chap called Harry Wolf, and I'll put the video in the description here, which I watched a couple of times actually. I made a comment as well. And that, let me just go here. Let me just go here as well. So that takes you basically through what's required to create and publish your own NPM module using the GitHub package registry. So if I search here, GitHub package registry. So as we know from previous live streams, of course, NPM registry is at npmjs.com, and of course all the beautiful modules and packages that we're using are from the NPM registry, the main NPM registry, or the SAP NPM registry, which is at npm.sap.com, and that's of course where awesome packages like SAP CDS is available, and the OData proxy and other things. Which is great. And as you know as well, the CDS package is at sap/cds-dk. And that is called a scoped package, i.e. there's a scope, there's a namespace, let's call it, at SAP. And that namespace has to be sort of linked to a destination registry so that NPM knows which registry to talk to go and download that package when you do an NPM install, right? We know that already. What GitHub allows us as regular developers to do is publish our own packages using using GitHub's NPM registry, which is a new feature. It's maybe 6 months old or something. It was in beta last year, and I've been really sort of fascinated by this. And basically, it will allow me, for example, as DJ, in my normal GitHub account, which is QMacro, to publish packages under @QMacro/package name. So that's something that you all can do as well, and it's free. In fact, the package registry supports not only NPM, but Docker, which is also super interesting, Maven for the Java folks out there, NuGet for .NET and the Microsoft world, and also Ruby Gems, right? Hey, Brenton, howdy from Rainy Island. Howdy to Rainy Island. Nice to see you online. Brilliant. We're just talking about GitHub package registry, and we're going to build a little package, because what I want to do is build a package, a really simple package, so we know how to publish a package. Then we'll go backwards and start building our OData service to generate the JSON to feed into what we're going to have as a default sort of module export for that package. So then we'll have an OData service and also an NPM module in the QMacro namespace, and you can follow along as well and do it yourself. That is also exposing, as it were, this sort of API. It's not really, I suppose, it's an API, as in it's a programmatically readable bit of data about the HandsOnSAPDev metadata. So that's there's a lot of talk. That's what we want to do. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And there's a description. is that? No, okay, configure npm. Oh, there it is there. I've already got it. I need to put that in the thing there as well. Harry on his video refers to this thing here, which is basically what we need to do to authenticate with GitHub and start publishing packages. So that's what I think we'll do first, okay? Just to sort of, there's lots of different things that are all sort of quite separate, but I want to join together. Oh, the other thing is GitHub also made the GitHub Actions feature available last year as well, and it's now sort of out of beta and available to all of us. And GitHub Actions is an awesome way to do CI, CD, but also sort of any sort of computation on the back of a Git or GitHub event. There's one thing that I use GitHub Actions for, github.com qmacro test. I've got this stupid little test repo here, and I've got this GitHub workflow. Let me just show you. Let me show the effect here. If I create an issue, by the way, I was experimenting with, how am I going to bring together this metadata about the HandsOnSAPDev episodes, or where I'm going to store them, in order to eventually maybe generate some CSV to load into the cat-based persistence layer. And I did experiment with using issues on a GitHub repo, because I'm super keen on that, and I manage all my sort of activities using issues and so on, and labels and milestones and projects and Kanban boards. In fact, I have a brief look at the issues here. This is my issues. Where are we here? There we go. There. That's how I manage all my issues with labels and so on. More on that another time. But what I'm going to do here is, if I create an issue saying HandsOnSAPDev demo issue, I can assign myself, for example, and I can assign some labels. I can't, even using a template, I can't automatically assign an issue to a given project. I've got a project over here. And that project is project 1, and project 1, is like a Kanban board, and you can have lots of different things here. I've got submitted and planned and whatever. So if I now save this issue, what's going to happen is that there's going to be a GitHub action that is running right now, and that action will take the new issue and assign it to a project, specifically this project 1, okay, project 1 there. And that action is defined here in my .github workflows directory inside this test repo. I've got this is where I was testing this out initially. I use this for real in my activities repo. Hey, morning, Gregor. Great to see you here. Late doesn't matter. You've turned up. That's great. And here is the definition of my GitHub action that I want to run. So when an issue is opened, I want to run this job, which will go and use this little Docker container, use this little container, but basically use this GitHub action that I've written, I'll show you in a minute, that will say, basically put the new issue in a project called project 1 with a project ID project 1 in the column submitted. I'm just going to go here and show you github.com qmacro. Oh, hold on. That is the, security. Oh, that's a new one. That is the GitHub action that is described in here using JavaScript that will use also the actions core npm module and also the GitHub actions npm module. And it's all nicely documented. And work out everything and then hopefully squirt that new issue into the projects. There we go. It's there. It appears suddenly into the project 1 project. So there's an example of using the GitHub action to do something useful, okay? And as you can see as well in that actual issue itself, if we look at that issue, we can see that it's now assigned to this project in the submitted column, okay? So anyway, that was just a brief demo of what you can do with GitHub Actions, and of course it makes sense that once we have this cat-based OData service with the HandsOnSAPDev, and then we do another episode, and we add some data to it, and then the OData service is then therefore spitting out yet another record, yet another entity. Maybe we can also use GitHub Actions to run that, to do a curl against that, to grab the data, and then update the NPM module with that extra bit of JSON that we get from the resource. Okay, and we can use a GitHub action to do that. and then publish to the publish an updated version to the npm package on the GitHub package registry. That's a lot of words. I hope that's okay. So that's what I want to do. So first, I think, in fact, let's go here. We're here. I think what we should do is go through the process of making sure we understand how to publish a package on the GitHub npm package registry. Okay, let's do that together. I'm going to sort of, I've done this once having followed Harry's thing, but I want to do it sort of together with you. One of the things we have to do, let's get rid of all these. Oh, let's go back up here. Let's get rid of all these different things here. One of the things we have to do is be able to provide some authentication. Now, we use personal access tokens for this. So let's generate a personal access token, which are there. Okay, I can show you this here. And I'm going to generate a new, I've got rid of the ones I've used before. I'm going to generate a new personal access token with which I can then authenticate on the command line with npm against the GitHub registry. And then I can, start doing all the sort of the publish stuff. So in fact, yeah, let's do that first. So let's generate a new token, and let's say HandsOnSAPDev package test. Okay, and I'm going to select the repo scope, which will give us access to private repos. I'll do this in a private repo first, then I can get rid of it. But then I think generally when we do it again, I'll do it against the HandsOnSAPDev repo. It makes a lot of sense to do that. So there's that. We also need to be able to read and write packages. Okay, these are the scopes specifically for the GitHub package registry. So now I'm going to go down here and I'm going to move this back down again, because when, of course, I hit generate token, it's going to show the token. So I'm going to copy it and then refresh and then bring that back up again. There we go. So it's now generated the token. I've got that in my buffer, so I better make sure I paste it somewhere. In fact, what I'll do is I will, let me go back up here. And I've got this thing here, GitHub packages. I'm going to say pass test. Will that give me a pass insert test? Will that? Okay. Okay, that's not going to show us then, so I can do that in front of you. So I can say pass HandsOnSAPDev package test. In fact, we want to insert. I just want to save this somewhere safe, right? So I'm going to save this thing here, enter password, paste that in there. Okay, cool. It's now pasted in. So I've got that safe. That's cool. So now what we need to do is, well, why don't we create, we're in here, why don't we create a new package, a new project. So let's say make the, let's call it HandsOnSAPDev package. HOSD. Let's call it HOSD, HandsOnSAPDev, and cd into that directory and npm init. Yes, please. Okay, so we've now got a bare bones npm package, which we can then start molding into something that is going to be a package that we publish on the npm package registry on GitHub. So the first thing it says we've got to do here, let's bring that back down again. The first thing it says we've got to do here after getting a token is to authenticate, okay? And that will store something in my private .npm RC file. So why don't we do that right now? So let's copy that there, bring that back down again, and log in. So what we're doing is we're authenticating with the remote package registry, that one there. And this is npm. So the username is qmacro, that's me on GitHub. The password is the thing that's hopefully still in the buffer. And email djadams@pobox.com, which is my main GitHub email address. What? Hold on. Did I not? Oh, it's not in. Of course, I copied the command, so that's overwritten the buffer. Okay, that's cool, because what I can do is I can just go down here. It's a bit weird, sort of, not showing any passwords. So I can say pass github.com HandsOnSAPDev. I can grab that from there into the buffer, and then that's perfect. I'm going to do that again. Q macro, paste that in, and here at pobox.com. Okay, cool. We're now authenticated with the remote package registry. Let's just create, we've got nothing in there apart from the package.json. Let's create a index.js 42. Okay, so is that big enough, by the way? We'll just create, a default export of a value of 42. That's the simplest thing that could possibly work for now. So we've now got this index. So that's fine. That's fine. So in fact, if we say node and then say const life equals require index life is 42. There we go. Okay, so we've got now this simplest ever module that we want to eventually export. Rob, yes, I'm glad you remember. That's nice memory. I'm not using OBS. I'm still on my Chrome OS, on my Chromebox, which is awesome. OBS sort of died a death when Catalina completely destroyed my machine. Well, it didn't destroy my machine. It just caused everything to be a right pain in the backside. So that's why I gave up using OBS. And I'm using Chrome OS, and I'm using Lightstream, which is the equivalent of OBS, but that's a cloud-based service, which is really cool. So I don't have that secret. I could do a secret sort of scene with Lightstream, but it's just easier now flipping between them. But yeah, good point. So now what we've got to do is we've got to go in here and we've done that. We need an npm-rc file with this in it, okay, in the project itself. So we say cat npm-rc and paste that in. And that's going to be Q macro. Okay, so now we've got, just to see, now we've got this npm-rc local file here in the project. We've got our sort of simplest thing that could possibly work module, and we've got our package.json, which we also have to edit. So we need to give this the name of the package that it's going to be with a scope. So if we say at Q macro, what's this called? HOSD. There we go. At Q macro HOSD is a Vim shortcut that I've got. So there's the package here. And what we also have to do, it's also described here, is the repository field should have a URL set to this thing here. Let's just copy that for now and bring that back down and say here, repository, just to say where the npm repository is. And this is going to be URL GitHub. It's a Git scheme, and it's going to be Q macro hosd.git. hos.git. There we go. I think that's it. Let's just double check. I think, yeah, that's right. So fine. So that's all good. And we're all ready now to do a publish, except that, of course, the HOSD package or the HOSD repo doesn't yet exist. github.com Q macro HOSD. I hope it doesn't exist. No, it doesn't exist. Okay, so hey, Napit, welcome. That's no problem, you're late. We're just about to create a new repo. And in fact, just the other day, I saw this announcement from GitHub. There's a new command line interface to GitHub. As you know, terminal, the futurist terminal. I'm wearing my futurist terminal t-shirt today. I'm a big fan of the terminal. So this is quite new. It was only released or announced this week, which is there. And this is this thing called GH. Okay, but there's also, it reminded me only a couple of weeks ago, I found out about another, I never knew it existed, another command line GitHub command called hub. Okay, so let's just show you what I mean. Where we go? There we go. So let's go down here, and if I say GitHub GH, it gives us, it's early stage development. It allows us to create create issues. It allows us to do all sorts of things. And in fact, I was messing around with. Let's just go into here. No, let's not digress. But there's also this hub command as well. So we can say hub create. In fact, man hub create. I think that's using the traditional sort of man page style single words with a dash in. Yeah, we can create a new repository and add a Git remote for it. Okay, so it's hub create and then the organization and name. So this thing here, Git, is not a Git repository yet. So let's do a Git add the whole thing, Git commit. So now we've got a Git status, a Git repo. Now we can say hub create. Let's create a private repository for now. No, let's create public. That's fine. HOSD. I think that's all we need, right? Yes. We go. Create HOSD. Updating origin, and that's it. So now, if we go here, where were we before? HOSD. If I refresh, there it is. It's pretty cool, right? And what's more, well, there's all sorts of different things. You can list issues, you can create issues, and all sorts of things with a hub command. Did I put the? No, I didn't. Let me go to here, and there we go. There's a GitHub hub. I think the difference between hub and GH, the new GH, is that the new GH sort of takes a new approach. So I think hub is wrapping a lot of the Git commands, but I think GH is more directly using the API. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, so that's that. So let's go back up here and let's see, Git status. Okay, we got branch master, but there's our origin. So what the hub has already done is linked this local repo with the remote and specified that as origin. So we can actually say now git push set upstream origin master. Okay, so that's fine. So now if I go, and I keep pressing the wrong key. Now if I go to HOSD and refresh again, there it is, which is really cool. Okay, so far so good, but we haven't got a package yet, have we? So what we need to do now is publish it. So let's just go back here, configure npm. I think we've done almost everything now, right? We've done the authentication. We've got this .npmrc file. We've specified the right things in our package.json. And we don't need to do, we're not using the publish config. So that's it. So let's now go and git status. That's fine. And it's also up to date with origin master. Let's just have a quick look again. Am I doing the right thing? There's the registry. Oh, yes. One thing that I wanted to show you, there's a package JSON with the repository URL. That's fine. And the name there. Okay. One thing I wanted to show you was, and I can do this with cut without showing you the whole thing. When you do the npm login, it sets the token against this sort of remote registry URI so that it remembers the authentication. Now, I think if I cut man, I can just show you the foot because it's quite a long token. Man cuts, I think it's bytes, isn't it, or characters? Cuts characters 1 to 45 of my home local npmrc. There we go. So in my npmrc, in my home directory now, you can't see the whole auth token there. I've cut it off after the 45th character. So, haha. I'll change the auth token anyway. But I've got my SAP registry configuration pointing to npm.sap.com, of course. I've also added, because I want to eventually consume my own stuff, the @qmacro registry, which is npm.package.github.com. That's the package registry to go to for packages that I specify with the qmacro scope. Okay, the depth is when I do lists of things. That's nothing to do with the package registry or anything. And there's the authentication for the npm package registry on GitHub. Okay, fine. Let me know if this is going a bit too fast. I hope it's okay. So now here's the exciting, hopefully the exciting part. npm publish. That's it, I think. There we go. So we've now just published this package to an npm registry provided to us by GitHub in the qmacro namespace. So theoretically, if I now go to here and hit refresh, we should now see one package. There we go. There's that one package. So theoretically, you folks, you lovely folks on the channel, should be able to now consume that. Does anyone want to give that a try? Thank you, Andrew. Thanks. I appreciate the feedback. It's always good. Sometimes difficult to figure out what's going on when you're just, obviously talking into a camera and everything. So thank you. Appreciate that. So yeah, why don't you try? Oh, there's a copy thing anyway. Let's try. Let me paste that in there for you. Let's do that ourselves. Let's go to a different directory. Let's go to temp, for example, and say make dir consume and cd into that, and npm init -y. I think I might actually do a little function to do that in shorthand from now on. So now I can say, because I've also got, if you're going to do that, don't forget to grep qmacro npmrc. Don't forget also to add that to your npmrc. There we go. And in fact, I think you can probably do npm config set etc, right? Qmacro registry, qmacro registry, that sort of thing, as you know. So now what I'll do is npm install @qmacro HOSD. It worked. So now we can say, well, in fact, let's look at the package.json now. There's package.json, and now we've got the dependency @qmacro HOSD, and in the node modules we've got this @qmacro directory, a little bit like the @SAP directory, and in there we've got our index.js. So we can theoretically now say index.js and say const life equals require @qmacro what's it called, HOSD. Oops, I need to get rid of that. qmacro HOSD console.log life node index.js. There we go. So we've now created a package, published it, and consumed it. So that's the basis of what I would like to do. One of the many aspects of this sort of, meandering discovery of different things and how they all sort of live together and how they can, they can work together. That is the absolute bare minimum basis of what we eventually want to do when it comes to building this HandsOnSAPDev sort of metadata API. Because of course, then you can imagine, having, instead of just a scalar 42, you can imagine having either a function, exporting a default function from this package, or I think is even nicer and even simpler, as in the simplest thing that could possibly work, or we could just export a big lump of a JavaScript array, an JavaScript object, effectively. Thank you, Gregor. You managed to consume it. Brilliant. Thank you for letting me know. So that's the basis of what we want to do. And I think one of the reasons why I'm quite excited about this is it sort of democratizes developer communities and individual developers, because we can all publish now packages in our own namespace and consume them from each other. It sort of moves the needle somewhat on the whole sort of community sharing, I think. So there we go. So that's part of this experiment. Now let's take a step back and think about how we might, what I'm imagining, right, is VI. Let's go. What I'm imagining is if we go into here and I'll just edit it to show you what I mean. Instead of 42, what I want to say is, for example, ID 0, and I think the first one was title getting our feet wet. In fact, I'll show you what I mean here. Hands on SAP Dev. Let's bring that up there. Let's go to the top. So the first one, where is it? The first one ever was episode 0, and the title was getting our feet wet. And the topics, the tags that we might want to search on in this one, for example, I think we covered some advent of code, and it was NodeMon and Node.js and JavaScript. Oh, thank you. That was just a thumbs up from you. Okay. Has anybody, by the way, tried to consume that? You are all. Has anybody sort of tried that and it's been successful? And thank you for the thumbs up, Gregor. Let me know. Let me know. So what I effectively want to do is that, for example, and then say topics, advent of code, JavaScript, NodeMon, like that, and then finish that one off and finish that one off, and then we can say that it's going to be that. Okay, so we can sort of start mapping over that and filtering and so on. So that's one way of thinking about a local train compatible, airplane compatible API against this particular data, which is the HandsOnSAPDev metadata. So how are we going to generate that? Well, we're going to generate that from an OData query, okay, with V4 and JSON. Why not? And grab the value from the output, and that we can then generate. We can generate the index.js programmatically each time and up the version. So let's say the version as well of the npm package might be 1.0.52 for the previous episode. I have no idea. I have no idea what we're going to be doing. But it just seemed to be, a nice sort of collection of things. So now, what I did, sort of this morning, was start collecting the episode lists, or the episode titles, and the IDs that I've generated, obviously, and I've sort of put some topics, okay, and I did actually start doing this as a set of issues in a GitHub repo, and then using GH to pull the issues out, which is quite cool. In fact, yeah, let me just show you that. If I go into, where was it? I've got this repo called test, and I can say GH issue. Is it GH issue list? There we go, list. I've got some issues in the test list. There we go. How cool is that, right? And that's, as you can see, I was experimenting with generating issues to reflect, one issue per episode, and then having tags, having labels against those issues being the topics, okay? Episode, JavaScript, Node.js, cap, whatever. But anyway, I didn't go down that path because there was some more, I wanted to have some extra metadata that an issue wouldn't allow me to easily create or maintain. So that was that. So instead, what I did was I just stuck it in a spreadsheet, and then of course I can sort of do a file export, which I'm going to do now. Have I got the file already? Let me just have a quick look here. Downloads. No, I don't have it. Okay, that's cool. Okay, fine. So I'll say file, download CSV. And one of the reasons why I'm using for this particular little metadata collection project using Google Sheets is because, first of all, Google Docs and Sheets and everything are awesome and programmable, and they're shareable, and the URLs are beautiful and super secure and everything. So I'm using those, and also I can share it with you if you want to sort of, from a community perspective, modify the topics and change. We can regenerate things. You can all access that, and it's all beautiful. So I've just downloaded that into this CSV file. So why don't we bring that up here? Let's go back. We don't need that one anymore. So why don't now, we're in temp consume, we don't need that either. So why don't we now go into the episode directory and create a new cat project and start from there. And this is, again, I just want to get the broad base of ideas of what we want to do, because also what I want to explore with you as well, and I'd love to find out your thoughts about how best to build this API. I'm going to do the simplest thing that could possibly work first, and you'll see the reason why. But also I want to explore a many-to-many relationship, which is not directly supported by CDS in CAP, but of course we can use a composition table to sort of join these things together. So we'll look at that and the pros and cons of that. We'll look at doing something simpler. But anyway, let's walk before I can run. So if I say, I think I've got the CAP package here. This is at depth equals 0, by the way. When I do a list, I only want to see the top level. That's why I'll set depth equals 0 in my npm config, and I can see what the latest CDSDK. So I can set CDS init HandsOnSAPDev. Okay, and I won't add any HANA yet or any MTA yet. Just do all the simplest thing that could possibly work. Grow as you go, as the father of CAP says. So let's go into there and let's have a look what we've got. We're not going to use VS Code in this instance, but I think if we do start to share this, you may want to use VS Code, so I'll leave that in. This is going to be headless, so we don't want an app directory. Let's not confuse ourselves with that. Okay, so why don't we now create the simplest data model. I've started calling my data model files the default one schema rather than data-model, because that's now the new word. And we'll say namespace. Well, let's call it Q macro for now, and naming things. Namespace Q macro, entity. What are we talking about here? We're talking about episodes. Entity episodes. Key ID, some spaces. We'll just reflect the 3 columns we've got so far. So we've got the ID, the title, and now what I don't want to do right now is start looking at code lists. If I bring in here, where are we? I'll show you in a second, actually. In fact, let's go up here, npm. Let's install. Do an npm install. As you know, with the CDSDK, when you initialize a project now, it doesn't do the automatic install, so we can get going even faster. But what I want to do is show you the common.cds and what I was thinking of in terms of using something. I want to hear your thoughts here, whether this is a good idea or a bad idea. If we go back in here, yeah, let's just go into that like that. If we go into common CDS, let's have that vertical there. In fact, no, let's have that. There we go. There's a code list aspect, which we could sort of think about using as the basis for a topics entity. So we've got episodes, and there's a separate topics entity, and then there's a many-to-many relationship. Multiple episodes can have multiple topics and vice versa. But we'll leave that for now. I want to come back to that maybe another time, and instead what's the simplest thing that could possibly work? The simplest thing that could possibly work is just a string of comma-separated topics. Because, of course, we've got the power of OData, for example, with the filter, to sort of, filter through that. I want to emphasize that, I'm sort of feeling as I go. So we may modify this. I'm sure we will modify this as we go on. And that's it. So we've got the ID, the title, and the topics. I think that's it. So let's go out of here. And in fact, serve, we're going to call it service.cds using Q macro from DB schema, service HandsOnSAPDev, entity episodes as projection on Q macro dot episodes. Episodes there. And that's it. That really is the simplest thing that could possibly work, right? Now, if we CSV, if we bring in, let's move downloads, hands-on SAP Dev episode sheet 1 to db csv q macro episodes.csv. I think we all know now, how to call our CSV files as the namespace dash entity. Let's have a quick look at that. db csv, there we go. Yeah, it looks nice. Okay, there's a number of episodes here where I didn't have the annotations blog post yet, and so I've just left those out and put, as a topic TBD, to be decided, to be done. Okay, I just want to get something up and running, right? So we've got that. So we've got some of these with TBD, right? But that's fine. So now we need to deploy this, but we haven't got the SQLite. So let's npm install as a development dependency SQLite 3, and then we can do a deploy, and hopefully we can run that service, grab that value stuff, and we'll just do this manually for now, so you can sort of see what's in my brain, which is probably rubbish and scary. We can transfer the value of the value property into that index.js of the HandsOnSAPDev package. And we got that. Anyway, and I want to eventually run this, of course, on Cloud Platform, in a Cloud Foundry environment, and open access, and we can use that as a metadata API. Anyway, lots of things. So now, where are we? HandsOnSAPDev, CDS deploy. Let's do it up there to SQL. One of my favorite things of all time is I love that, that's short enough, right? But that's the long one. That's short, 2. That's crazy, but I like 2. SQLite data.db, that'll do. Okay, so filling Q macro episodes. So hopefully that's worked. So CDS, in fact, let's just use the npm1, npm start. We can see all the output there. It's using it from schema and service. So hopefully now, let's just click on that. That should bring up, there we go. That should bring up there, but of course, because I'm running on Chrome OS, of course, this is not local. That's not local, that's a container, but there's a special penguin, which is the name of the container, .linux test. I've usually got this redirector running, but I'm not running a redirector. So there's our HandsOnSAPDev service and the episodes. There we go. Okay, so that's really super simple. And what I want to do is the value of this value property here, all this stuff, I want to inject into the index.js. Into the index.js of the package, and we'll push that to the registry, and then we can consume that either as an npm module, and then just manipulate it using sort of normal object functions, or we can use it as an API when it's eventually on. Drum roll, yes. What? Well, yeah, there you go. There's a drum roll. It was a drum roll for the service. So if we now bring that down here, bring that now across localhost 4004 and HandsOnSAPDev episodes. What do we get? We get that, which is cool. But in fact, what does it look like from? Yeah, we got the OData context and the OData metadata E tag, which we don't want. We just want the value, don't we? So again, all we want here, value. In fact, we can say value here dot title just to see all the titles. There you go. There's all the titles, for example. So why don't we save that? We want the value, and we also want it. We also want it, don't we, in raw form? And there's a. What's the thing to give us? Compact out.c. There we go. That's what we want. So now if we capture that and just let's put it in a file for now, episodes.json. Yeah, there we go. So we got that. So theoretically, if we go back now and where are we here? Oh, okay, we're in episode 50. That's fine. We've got our HOSD. If we now go into HOSD and index, yeah, okay, let's do this. I'm sort of, well, as usual, I'm sort of making it up, but episodes.json, that's the idea I had, right? Okay, so there's the module exports. We're exporting an array. I think that should be valid JavaScript, right? There's the end of it. So if we say now, let's just try it. Node require, what's it called? Index. Yeah, seems all right. So theoretically, git commit am add episode, make episodes default export, git push, and theoretically, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to say 1 there. All right, I've not tried this before. So npm publish. Okay, that's cool. So if we now go to temp consume node index.js will give us the 42 because that's still, oh, well, whatever it was, we edited that too. npm update qmacro HOSD. Is that what we do? And now, yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, so that's the general idea. So the end goal is to have a sort of a JavaScript object. Yes, it is one of the hardest tasks, naming stuff. It really, really is. The end goal is to have a JavaScript object style based exported thing in the npm package on, on the well, let's put it eventually on the HandsOnSAPDev repo, which exists, right? And you can import that and use that and do a search. For example, I could say, I have no idea. I could say, let's just bring that in now. Eps equals require qmacro HOSD, and then say eps.filter x.topics dot match. Why am I doing this? I have no idea what I'm doing. Match business rules. Yeah, there we go. So we can sort of use the API that way. Let's do that again. Filter dot length. Let's see. Do we know? Make sure that was, yeah, we've got 8, right? So it's not 50 or whatever it is. So we've got that sort of API, and then we'll have an API from an OData perspective, which of course we can use filter. So here's what I mean with this. Episodes, filter. There we go. I tried it before, right? Contains Vim and contains LSP. So that's one way we could use the simplest thing that could possibly work with OData, using the power of the filter system query option and using a flat string of topics. But next time we're talking about this subject, I want to explore the composition table and look at, for example, look at doing something like, where is it? In the domain modeling section, look at something like this condition table here, this mapping table, books to authors, between authors and books, many to many. I also want to look at doing more with the package and also using GitHub Actions to sort of automatically update the package when there's a new episode available in the upstream, as it were, OData service. Anyway, it's 9 o'clock. Thanks so much for watching. Yes, try to consume the service, Robertino, and yeah, I hope that was okay. My goodness, that went really fast, but I hope it's okay, and bye for now. Oh.